Hello, and welcome to Let Me Bore You to Sleep. My name's Jason Newland, and this is number 1096. Wow, 1096. And there is part 2, so Q&A part 2, questions and answers, and part 2. So it's recorded on the 11th of April 2023. So I did the first part. Admittedly, I posted on Facebook. Let me just have a look. Let's get Facebook up. I posted on Facebook. What was that I just missed? Do you ever see a picture and think, what? Oh, it's a cute picture of a doggy. That was funny. Right, okay. Here we go. What I posted last night was this was 22 hours ago I posted this. So it's now it's 20 to 5. So yeah, so it's about 7 o'clock or something last night. I'm now going to record a new Let Me Bore You to Sleep. It will be a Q&A, or should that be an Q&A? I don't know. Ask me anything. I will start the recording in a few minutes. I shall keep an eye on this page throughout, so feel free to ask me anything. 2 big juicy kisses, and then in brackets, the recording is not being streamed live. I put that just in case people thought that I was streaming it live, I suppose. I only managed to reply to, well, there was 3 comments. One was just a nice comment being nice, so I read that out, and that was from so I'll read that in a minute. I'll read it out again. So the first, I've got a guess, lovely. The first message was from Ben. Question: what made you decide to become a sleep specialist, and if you won the lotto, would you still record? So I answered that one, so thanks Ben for that. This is in yesterday's recording. Jove asked me, how would you spend a perfect day if money and time were no object? By the way, did I say please only listen when you can safely close your eyes? Okay, good. And the website is letmeboreyou.com. So I answered that question as well. Thanks, Joe, for that. And I had a message, a post from Barry. It wasn't a question. It was just have to let you know you're amazing. Feel like I know you, like a best friend. Listen every night. Old ones, new ones, I don't mind. You help me forget at bedtime. Just wish you could make a penny out of your work. So thanks, Barry. I did comment on that, but obviously it wasn't a question, so I didn't have an answer. I've got more questions now. So I've got 1, 2. So one, this is on that post. 1 from Rick, 1 from Robin, and 1 from Mike. And then I put another post today saying, today I'll be making the second part of a Q&A. Have a question for me? Question mark. Kissy, kissy, kissy. So I got 4 comments. So I've got a couple of other messages, questions. 1 from Diana, 1 from Matthew, 1 from Jen, and 1 from Christine. So this is like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in all, I think. So what I'm going to do is get on with it and be as quick as I can, and then you know that's not going to happen, don't you? It's practically impossible to do that, but I will give it a go. I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer all of the questions. I'll try though. So Rick is the first one in line. He sent this 21 hours ago, so I think this was probably posted just as I came to the end of recording yesterday's recording. So Rick, thanks for your message. It says here, how are you able to keep talking about so many disjointed topics for so long? It seems a bit stream of consciousness, yet somehow there is a coherence there. It always works where my mind is racing at night. It's a balance in my mind between keeping my interest so my mind doesn't wander, yet not saying anything I feel I really need to hear. What do you mean not saying something you need to hear? This is you telling me this isn't interesting? Mind-blowing stuff. What? And it says, I hope this makes sense. It works brilliantly. Well, thank you, Rick. That's very kind of you to say that. How am I able to keep talking? I don't know. I guess is the answer to that. I tell you when I started doing it, I kind of started doing this style. Well, one of the main complaints I used to get for years, I mean talking for years and years and years, I got a lot of positive feedback on YouTube and podcasts, you know, for the first 5-6 years that I was doing it. But I also got a lot of negative stuff as well. On YouTube, sometimes it was about appearance and they'd make, you know, like rude stuff like that. I don't get that on the podcast because you can't see them on a podcast. But I'll probably get now loads of abuse on my podcast about what I look like. It's like, it's not fair, stop it. And one of the main complaints people used to say, one was I talk too slowly, which is valid for that person that complained, because if that's how they felt, then that's how they felt, you know. I can't change the speed. I mean, I do talk fast sometimes when I'm talking about something that I'm particularly interested in. Sometimes I trip over my own words because I'm so excited. It's just unfortunate it's never exciting to anyone else. It's just always, sometimes I surprise myself, like, why am I excited about this? It's only a loaf of bread. You know, it's like, but it smells and it's so fresh. Yum, 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 yum. Reminds me when I used to work in a bakery. Let's tell you all about that. I actually worked in 3 bakeries technically. I did some cleaning in one bakery and I worked in 2 other bakeries. One part-time when I was a kid and the other one full-time when I was in my 20s, early 20s. Yeah, and then there was that part-time I was cleaning and, oh man, they hadn't cleaned the floor. Literally, I went in there. Now, I'd worked in a bakery and I'd worked in a chip shop. I'd worked in catering establishments, and I know that the main thing you do is you always clean the floor at the end of the shift, because if you don't do that, it builds up and it becomes practically impossible to clean. So you have to do it every time you end a shift, sometimes even before the shift starts as well, just if there's anything left over. But you just clean as you go. Make sure if there's a spillage, providing, you know, it's dangerous just to leave it there anyway because you could slip. But once that stuff gets crusty on the floor and then more stuff gets on top, it becomes very difficult to move. but just a normal mop is usually fine. Mop, hot water, detergent, whatever, does the job. But if you leave the floor and don't clean it for a few days or a few weeks or whatever, no amount of mopping is going to be enough. You need a machine, a scrubber, and all kinds of stuff to clean the floor if it's an industrial catering establishment, such as a bakery. And with bakeries, there's a lot of dough and stuff, which I'm sure you might not know, you might know, becomes very hard. It gets, it's soft, but then it becomes hard, and it sticks to the floor like really, and it builds up, and it's just, yes, you need a scraper. I can't believe it. Vinny's eating a pig's ear, right? And he's literally choking on it, but he's still trying to eat it as he's choking. Wasn't even giving himself a breath to stop choking on it. I knew someone like that used to do that with biscuits. Well, no, I used to make fun of him. He used to eat a lot, but he couldn't stop talking. And so my joke was, here's an impression of whatever his name was, choking on a biscuit. So at first I'd be eating a biscuit, choking, and then continue to put biscuits in his mouth. And he didn't find it funny. I was only young. I was rude back then. Would never do a thing like that now. I'd eat the biscuits, but that's it. Yeah, so this part-time, basically I had a cleaning job in a supermarket when I was about, 20, just turned 20. Well, I was between the ages of 16 and 20 various times that I worked there. And they said, oh, do you want an extra shift? I said, okay, a bit of extra money. I said, where? They said, well, it's just the bakery. It's just in store. I said, there's a bakery there. I said, yeah, it's just behind the shutters. Shutters are always closed, but they open up. Do you remember you see them in there in the morning? Oh, okay. I didn't realise they actually made the bread in there. He said, yeah. I just figured they got it delivered. And they said, we just need to clean the floor. Everything else is clean. It's just the floor you need to clean. Won't take long. I said, okay. So I turn up there about, 5 o'clock. The place is closed, so it would have been 8 o'clock at night or something, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, something like that. And the supermarket was open, I think, but the bakery had closed. So all the shutters were down, so no one could see what I was doing. Not that I was doing anything that was dodgy or anything. I wasn't tap dancing or practicing karaoke. Why would you practice karaoke in a bakery? That'd be weird. I swear, this floor, they had all the equipment, they had scrapers and everything, which they should have been using every day. They had not cleaned that floor for a long time. A long time. It was thick. There was a certain degree of pleasure, but it was like a couple of inches worth of pastry stuck on the tiles. So it took me about 3 hours to clean the floor. I was there till, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I was only supposed to be there for about an hour. So I did that. I come in the next day for my early morning shift to do, because I was only there 2 hours a morning or 1.5 hours or something, just cleaning the floors in a supermarket. It was easy because they were done every day, and if there was a spillage, the floor was mopped up and cleaned straight away. You know how it should be. Health and safety. Anyway, I come in and the woman says that my boss, my supervisor, the cleaning supervisor, comes and says to me, can I have a word, please, Jason? I don't know if she knew my name. And I said, yeah, what? She said, I had a complaint. I said, is it the stealing? It's about stealing the sweets. She said, what? I said, nothing. She says, no, it's about the bakery. The bakery? I haven't stolen anything from the bakery. She said, no, it's not about stealing, it's about the bakery. It's last night you cleaned the floor and they're saying that you didn't do a very good job of it and it was subpar. She didn't use the word subpar because no one had ever used that word at that time. The word subpar wasn't used until about 1992. I think it was February the 14th. Somewhere in Canada, I do believe. A tavern. I don't know if that's true. And I said, what? She said, yeah, it wasn't clean. It didn't. The floor's not clean enough. I said, look, that floor. The only reason they don't know how the floor should look because they've never seen the floor before. They're used to seeing it. It's like, oh, it's not the wrong colour. No, it used to be white. Of course, it was white because it was dough. White and brown, dirty dough. Underneath is black tiles. That's why they think it's dirty, because there's black tiles. That's the colour of the floor. That's the colour of the floor. And she thought I was being rude, and like, do you not understand? I know about cleaning. I had lots of cleaning jobs. And it's a very basic, most basic thing in the world is it hadn't been cleaned. Unless literally they was just chucking stuff on the floor all the time from 4 in the morning till, I don't know, 5 in the afternoon, whatever time they close. And literally all they did, they just had someone they employed standing on a table just chucking dough on the floor, and someone else was just stamping it into the ground. In that case, yeah, maybe it had been there. They probably have to cook it as well, so they probably have some kind of weird oven that they could like push over it to make it cooked onto the ground. Perhaps they had underfloor heating. That's the only way that could have been there from the previous morning. You know, when I got there, there was weeks and weeks full of stuff. Maybe a week's full of dirt, but that's way too much for any one person to clean in a short setting. And I just could not believe what I was hearing. Could not believe it. So it's quite weird, because afterwards, after hearing what they said, I didn't feel quite so guilty for urinating in their sink. I didn't. I'm joking. I did feel guilty. I did. A little bit. So I just kind of like, I still remembering it's forever ago. It's a long time ago. And my supervisor said, well, they don't want you back. I said, well, I don't, and they don't want to pay you as well. They don't want to pay you because they don't think you did anything. I said, what about the 5 bin bags, black bin bags worth of muck that I collected? And she said, well, they didn't mention that. I said, yeah, they probably put it back into the fresh dough, save themselves some money. She laughed. So yeah, okay, back to the question. How are you able to talk about so many disjointed topics for so long? It seems a bit of a, I don't really know. Oh yeah, I started doing this. I remember I did a recording. I don't know if it was speaking out, thinking out loudly, or speaking out quietly, or I don't know, it was something called like something like that. It was kind of like along the lines of the Jason Chats vlogs, but it wasn't a video, it's a podcast. And one of my best friends at the time contacted me after listening to it, and he said that I was mental. He said, "You're mental, you need help, you need sectioning. I just listened to you and you're all over the place and you're talking about stuff and there's something wrong with you." Which is a bit rude, to be honest. And this was 2013 probably. But what I did notice is I quite enjoyed doing it. I quite enjoyed making them. And I'd previously done the hypno chats were kind of similar, but they were more focused because it was, the idea is I talked like conversationally, which then led into an actual hypnosis session. That was kind of the plan, and I don't know how successful I was with them, and they were, people did listen, well, they watched them on YouTube when I first released them, but as podcasts, they've never had any interest. In fact, I think I've taken them off now. I don't even bother with them. I did about 30 or 40 of them, I think. And so another thing people used to say with the videos when I first started, and for years and years, not only did I talk too slowly, I talked too much waffle. Can't you just get on with it? This is supposed to be a relaxation session or a pain relief session or a sleep session. Can't you just get on with it? Why are you waffling on for 20 minutes before doing the recording, before actually, And I didn't really have an answer. I felt a little bit, I'll be honest, I probably felt like I let myself down a little bit, because I was trying to accomplish something, and for a certain amount of people I wasn't doing it. I wasn't giving them what they wanted. But even when I tried to cut down on the waffle or the chatting, I'd still end up, and other people used to say, like, even in a really kind of fairly serious recording, they'd still find themselves laughing at some of the stuff I said. And no one ever complained about that. That was more, no one ever, like, they mentioned it, but they would never, it was never a complaint, which is nice, I guess. But I don't know. I guess there's a degree of coherence. So I suppose I'm not just talking about nothing, and I don't think it's just incoherent. I'm not just going from one sentence to another, jumping from sentences, and none of them make sense, and it's impossible to follow. I mean, it might not be easy to follow sometimes, but I'm not demanding that anyone follows what I'm saying. It's not that important. You're not going to miss anything, It's not like I'm giving you directions to the local off-license or whatever, local cinema. So you're in a town, you don't know where you are, and you ask me for directions, and then as soon as I start talking, your mind goes blank and you stop listening. In that scenario, it's a wasted experience, because that person's put their energy into helping you, and then you've not listened because maybe the person has bored you, or you just for some reason lost interest in the conversation. And then you have to ask someone else. In this situation, it's you can always listen back. That's another thing about the recordings, and I said this because someone said years ago, I fall asleep, but I don't know what you said. Well, just listen back. Nothing's hidden. It's all there. It's it's just me just talking. But so Rick, I don't know quite. I mean, my dad, I class myself as being very different from him. Very different people, different values and different opinions and different people. Well, everyone's different, aren't they? But I do share 50% of his DNA or something, or 50% of my DNA is from him. So there's going to be some similarities. But we had very different lives growing up. So the first 7 years of our lives were very different, like very different. And there was something that he did which was kind of maybe a bit similar to me. And it was at one of the weddings. I don't know if it was my sister's or my brother's wedding. And my little brother was with me. And we were just standing, and my dad was on the phone. So he had his mobile phone. He didn't carry his home phone with him because the wire wouldn't reach. But he said, and he was having this conversation on the phone. And I think my little brother was there, and I just kind of walked up and like, what's going on? It took me a few minutes to realise that my dad was pretending to talk on the phone. There was no one there. He was just having an imaginary conversation with someone on the phone, and he was including my little brother in with it. And I'm probably not explaining it very well, but it was very funny. And it was, he was probably a bit drunk, to be honest. My dad's a nice drunk. He's like a happy drinker. Does that make sense? It mellows him. Not that he's not mellow, but he's a happy drinker. Some people aren't, and he is. So, not that I've seen him drunk, like drunk, only a couple of times. Maybe 3 times. There was one time that he messed up. He didn't mean to do it, but he just drank too much before Christmas dinner. This is like 20 odd years ago, I think. And his wife wasn't happy, but he didn't mean to. He just overdid it a little bit, you know. Maybe he'd had too much the night before, and then he started drinking a bit too early, and he ended up having to go to bed. And he missed like half of the Christmas, like the afternoon. He was up again in the evening, but like, bless him, you know. It's not the worst thing that someone could do, is it? And it wasn't like there was a bunch of kids. We were all adults at that time, so didn't really matter. And I got a chance to eat most of his chocolates, which was good. So maybe there's that, and I don't know, because I don't know my mum, my biological mother. My auntie used to be best friends with my mum. I do believe that's how my dad met her, not my auntie. You know, their brother and sister. That'd be weird, wouldn't it? Me and a girlfriend, and then she says to her, by the way, here's your sister. No. So it was the other way around. And so she was best friends with my mum, my auntie. who was my dad's younger sister, not youngest. And I just suppose my dad and my mum fell in love and all that stuff. But my auntie said that my mum was really funny, like a really funny person. Like, so I'll have to take a word for that because I don't know. But it's so I've got 50%. I've got genes from both of them, so I guess I'm gonna have. I mean, I haven't learned as far as the short time I lived with my mum, maybe a couple of years, but I was too young to remember. I was like, I don't know, between the ages of 2.5 and maybe 4.5, 5, 4, something like that. So I was too young to really. Of course, I was impressionable. I remember certain things that happened. I don't really remember her. I have not seen her since I was 7. So it was, and then between 4.5 or 5 and 7, I hadn't seen her either. So I just saw her one time before my dad took me. So I don't know how much I'm like both of them. It's sort of like I found I got a bit of a blind spot when it comes to my dad, and maybe I've got things in common with him that I'm not really aware of. Maybe like personality wise. I mean, I don't know. I think he's got size 9 feet, so my feet are bigger than his. I've got size 10. He's taller than me, than most people are. He's stocky. He's a big bloke, and brilliant with his hands. Great at craftsmanship. Things like plumbing, building, electrical. Where he used to be an electrician. Anything again around that line of things, he could do. So he has that kind of natural skill to be able to do stuff like that. And I don't. I broke my television taking it out of the box. The amount of things that I've cracked and broken because I've been clumsy, and I don't have. Because things like being an electrician or a plumber, even though it's a lot of hefty physical work and labour sometimes, you still have to have a degree of finesse, a degree of being careful, when you're doing stuff, especially with electronics and things like that. So I don't seem to have that part of my brain operating. I don't know why. I just never found it particularly interesting. Never. How to put a shelf up. Oh no, I don't care. I just want the shelf to be there. I want it just appear on its own. If only life was like that. Wow, God, it just happened. No, it didn't. So I don't know why. It's not difficult. To be fair though, sometimes there have been times when I've been in a particularly rubbish mood and I've tried to make one of these recordings, and I've had to stop after half an hour and just delete it, because I just haven't been in the right state of mind. I'm not always aware of how I am feeling until the moment, if you know what I mean. I try and be, but not always. Not always. Sometimes, but not always. Now, I don't know if I've answered that question particularly well, but I don't know how else to answer it, because there was one time, this was 1990, I don't know what year, well, I think it was 97 or 98. It was the Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield fight number 2, where he bit Evander Holyfield's ear. So it was after that fight, we were all sitting around, and I started talking, and everyone was just laughing, and I was just talking and talking and talking, and I don't know why I was doing it. I was just talking. I was probably maybe a little bit drunk or something, but I was just waffling on, and everyone just found it funny. So I don't know. Who knows? So yeah, I don't know how I'm able to do it. It's just talking. I don't do this when I'm with people. Or maybe I do. I don't. No, I don't. I don't just talk. I prefer to talk like this than talk with someone, because there's no interruptions there. I can just get out what I want to say. And I guess maybe it just takes me more words than a short sentence. And I do sometimes find, if I ask someone a question, the answer is not always satisfactory to me, because I think it's natural, and people do this, and maybe I also do this in a conversational situation, is, especially if I'm at work or professional situation, I leave out information. But my natural tendency is to be correct. And if I've missed something out, go back and correct myself and try and give the correct time, and to not lie, or not to, if I say something and I realise I know that's not true, I come back and say, what I said there, that wasn't true. If I'm actually given a serious answer to a question, and I'm being serious, what I'm saying. Other times, if I'm just talking absolute rubbish, then of course I'm just going to make stuff up. But I like to think that people that know me, know when I'm just being silly, as opposed to being serious. It hasn't always been the case, but I think generally people do. I think. Sometimes I ask people, you do know that I'm not really a hamster. Mike says, oh, no, wait a minute. Robin is next. Hi, Robin. Hi, Jason. What is your most hilarious memory? Most embarrassing moment? Okay, so 2 questions. Most hilarious memory and most embarrassing moment. Love your podcasts. Thanks, Robin. I'm trying to think of hilarious moment. I can't think of one. Embarrassing moment. Okay, there was one. I was getting I was on the ferry coming back from Ireland, and this was 1995, around March time ish, around that time. So I was coming back from Ireland. I just visited Andre, I'd previously lived in Ireland for a little while before that. So I just went up there to visit him and my friend, another couple of other friends as well. So I'm coming back am I coming back, or am I actually going to Ireland? It might have actually been, no, I think it was a journey to Ireland. Yes, it was. No, I remember now. So it was the ferry to Ireland from, blimey, I can't remember where it was. Was it Wales? Because there was a coach trip that lasted for about a year to get to the ferry, and then the ferry was overnight. Well, basically what happened, I'm on the ferry on the way to where does it go to? The island. Yeah, you know, the place in Ireland. So the ferry went. There's probably to be fair, there's probably a coach from the ferry to the centre of the town. Anyway, I can't remember. But on the ferry, I get talking to this lady, probably about the same kind of age, maybe a bit younger, maybe a bit older, I don't know. But I got on really well with her, and I really fancied her. I thought we would get on really well. We watched a movie together, everything. Never mentioned she had a boyfriend or anything. It didn't come up. I thought I was doing quite well, but you know, I'm not ticking any boxes, but I felt like it was going quite good. And I saw some other people as well. I met a few people, just chatting to them during the time, you know, getting food and stuff. And when I sit down somewhere, I have a tendency of just sitting in one place. So sometimes I used to get chatting to people, or just get to say hello to them or whatever, I don't know. Or maybe sitting next to them on the coach for a few hours, you kind of get to know them a little bit. Anyway, but this female, we spent a good few hours together, chatting and having a laugh, watching a movie. I don't think there was any alcohol on the ferry. Maybe there was, I can't remember. And then we were just basically docking, and she said, "Right, I better go and find my boyfriend. He's waiting for me at the terminal or whatever." And I thought, oh, lovely, brilliant, wonderful. Here's me thinking, you know, my soulmate, going to get married and all that stuff, and nope. I was just someone to pass the time with. Oh well. So I said, I'll see you later. And then we all went back to our coaches. So I think it was like, you get to the coaches they might have gone on the ferry. I really don't remember, such a long time ago. So we get back and we get on the coaches, all like the ones that we were allotted. I'm on a different coach to her, so I get into I didn't know if she was already there or not, but you get into the terminal, which is in town, in Ireland. And so I'm getting off the coach with a couple of blokes that I travelled up with all the way from London. Was it? There's a bus station in London. Anyway, from there all the way up to Wales. So I kind of got to know them a little bit, had a laugh and that, you know. Everyone was in good spirits. And so I'm walking off the coach with them two, walking up, and this bloke waves at these two men. He waves at one of them, because they're not together. I think they're separate, but they're just chatting to each other. So he waves to one of the blokes. So we just walk over. we're chatting, and this bloke says, "Oh, you're right, mate," and they were just chatting, saying, God, there's some beautiful women here, isn't there? One of the blokes that I'd travelled up on, and like, oh, Ireland's great, there's some beautiful women. And I said, beautiful women here, you should have seen the one on the ferry. I said, she's absolutely stunning. I think I gave some physical descriptions that wouldn't be acceptable today, but I was a young man, I didn't know any better back then. And they were laughing. All of the blokes were laughing at stuff I was saying. I was just being cheeky, nothing bad, just to be cheeky young lad that I was. I was only 47 at the time. No, it was a long time ago. And so they're laughing, and then I hear a ooh, and the bloke that had waved to one of my people that I was with, and we were talking, he said, "Oh, here's my girlfriend." And I look over, and it's the woman that I spent the entire journey with, the one that I'd just been making fun of, in a nice way, but, you know, and her boyfriend was standing there waving to her, saying, "That's my girlfriend." And I'd just been talking about his girlfriend and making him laugh about his own girlfriend. Being cheeky. I'm just going to say cheeky. It was nothing bad, but it was enough it was just like lads just chatting and that. I don't know, I'm trying to make excuses. I don't even remember what it was I said. It was just something silly. Anyway, it wasn't something that I'd want to say about his girlfriend once he realised that was his girlfriend, because I thought, I said, "Well, I'm off, see ya." So I moved really quickly, and she shouts after me, and I turned back and said, "Oh, hello," and I carry on walking, and I see she starts talking to her boyfriend, and he looks over at me, and I honestly, all you can see is dust or fart residue probably, and I'm out of there, and I think, oh, this is embarrassing, very, very embarrassing, because I just thought, I can't come back from that. I can't really, I don't know what to do. So yeah, that was, and I just took off and went to McDonald's, I think. McDonald's mayonnaise, at the time they had mayonnaise in their burgers, in McDonald's burgers in Ireland. Mayonnaise. Should I repeat it? Mayonnaise. That's wrong. It's not just wrong, it should be illegal. Mayonnaise on a burger. Absolutely horrific, honestly. Absolute. Oh, ugh. I still ate them because I was hungry, but it just, I was kind of trying to scrape it out. I was like, oh, this is grim. Why would you have mayonnaise? I don't know why people have mayonnaise on anything, to be honest. I think it's one of the most disgusting things on the planet, but I do like salad cream. Some would argue, but isn't salad cream very much like mayonnaise? And to me, it's not. But to some people, it might be. But to me, it's not. And salad cream is phenomenally beautiful. Especially with things that you shouldn't really have them with. Or them. It doesn't really mix. But it's amazing, like with chips, or you might call them fries where you live. Chips with hot chips and mayonnaise. What a great treat. And there's been times when I've gone into a pub and had a burger and chips. Many, many years ago, blimey. Work, go from work, have a meal and have a burger, chips, and then have I get the sachets, the ones in a bag, little plastic thingy things. So I get a couple of tomato sauces, couple of salad creams, and was there another one that I'd get? No, I probably didn't bother with the brown sauce. Maybe a vinegar, if there was no vinegar. Although once our team, at the call centre, we all went out for lunch every few months. And we went out for lunch, and my so-called friend, undid the vinegar pot top. So when I got my meal and I poured it in, it went all over everything. And I was close to crying. I didn't find it funny at all, because I'd waited most of my lunchtime. It took us 10 minutes to get there. It was going to take us 10 minutes to get back. We'd already waited for 20 minutes for the food. So there was no time for me to get another meal. So what I did is I ordered another meal, and my team supervisor that was there, who witnessed it and knew that he'd done it before it went all over me, all over my food and ruined it. But first I made him pay for my meal. Not my supervisor, but the bloke that did it. And I said to my team leader, I'm going to sit here till my food gets here, and I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to be back late. And he said, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I am. He said, if you're back late, you're going to be in trouble. I said, watch me. Well, luckily the food came quite quick, and I was back in time. But I think I proved a point. Thinking about it, I'm not sure what the point was, but most embarrassing moment. I should have thought about these. I should have read through them before I started the recording, because I can't think of anything. I've been alive long enough that there must have been loads. Most hilarious memory. There's weird memories. There's a couple of funny ones that just are stuck in my head, and they're not necessarily funny to anyone else, but there was a bloke called Terry who I worked with in a meat processing factory. And Andre, the original Andre, not my Andre, he was my best friend, but he was also the supervisor of the department at the time. So Terry came back. He'd just been on a break. Came back, and I said to Terry, have you seen Andre? I needed to ask him a question, work related or whatever. So have you seen Andre? He said, oh yeah, I just passed him in the toilet. Now, I just visualised Terry pooing out Andre. I passed him in the toilet. That's what I visualised, and I could not stop laughing. Terry didn't find it funny. Andre didn't find it funny when I told him. And for the last 30 years, I've been telling people, and no one finds it funny. And I don't find it particularly funny now, but it was hilarious at the time. And it's just, oh yeah, I passed him in the toilet. That's funny. Another one was my friend downstairs. He had a neighbour staying with him for a while, and he was sleeping on the settee. During the day, he was just sleeping on the settee, and one of the other neighbours next door was doing the cutting the lawn, the front lawn. So my friend opened the front window, and called him over and said, excuse me, mate, sorry, could you do us a favour, can you not do that at the moment, because I've only just got him to sleep. I've just got him off to sleep. So the neighbour looked in the window and see this grown man lying on the settee. Now, I just found that hilarious, because the whole idea is I've only just got him to sleep. you'd think you were talking about a little kid, a little baby or something, and it's like a 40-year-old man there. So I found that hilarious. I don't know, it's not so funny now, to be honest, but it was at the time. I just found it very funny at the time. This is something I need to give some thought. Why is my right nipple so hard? That's weird. I need to give it some thought. There's probably been loads and loads and loads. Something that really really, I mean, an embarrassing moment. That was definitely one of them. Trying to think of another embarrassing moment. I suppose I had a few, maybe times when I should have got embarrassed, but I didn't. There was one time I was chatting a woman up in the nightclub, and I was a DJ, but she asked me a question as I was walking through. So I stopped, and I'm like, she was eating her dinner, and she asked me a question, probably about the song choices and stuff that would be playing. And I'm talking to her, I'm trying. She might have finished her dinner, but I was chatting her up, but I was chatting to her. And I smiled, and the chewing gum in my mouth fell on the floor. And she saw it fall out of my mouth. She didn't come up to me later and ask for any songs. So that was a little bit embarrassing. What other embarrassing things have happened? I can't think of anything off the top. Well, I'll give it a thought, and if I can think of some other stuff, I'll come back to that. Maybe in a future recording, I'll try and think of. Maybe I'll make a list of embarrassing things and talk about them, but or hilarious memory. It's probably this is a good memory. This is a funny memory. My friend owned a security company. Okay, he was the boss, and he was in the office, the head office. Well, there was only one office, I think, but he was in the toilet. His staff were in the office. He was in the toilet. He phoned me, bearing in mind he's the other side of the country to where I live. He phoned me on his mobile to me on my mobile, and he said, "Can you please phone the office?" I said, "Office?" He said, "Yeah, can you phone my office," which is where he was, but he was in the toilet, "and ask them to bring me a toilet roll." And the reason he called me rather than them, you might think, why didn't he just phone them? His phone was about to run out any second, so he wanted to make sure that he got through, so he knew I'd answer the phone. They were really busy, so he might not get through until a few calls, which I think the same happened to me. And eventually I said, okay, and I just couldn't stop laughing. And I phoned them up, and they were really busy, but eventually I got through to them, and I said, I got a message from the boss. They said, "What, really?" I said, "Yeah, can you take him a toilet roll? He's in the toilet and he's run out of toilet roll." And the laughter. I mean, it wasn't an embarrassing moment for me, but it was for him, and it was a funny moment. It's very funny at the time. So that was quite a funny one. What other stuff? I'm trying to think. I still, even now, I've talked about this recently actually. I was in a car getting a lift with Andre into town in Ireland, and there was too many people in the car, so Andre had to sit on my lap, and his mum was driving, and his auntie was in the front, or his grandmother was in the front, and I said to Andre, "Oh, Andre, have you put on weight?" And I just found it hilarious, and he did as well, because the idea is like, oh, it's been a while since you last sat on my lap, and it's just, I don't know, it was funny at the time. Perhaps it's not funny now, but it was funny at the time. It just, as I say, you had to be there. What other silly things? I've done a lot of silly things in the past. Yeah, I've said some silly things. Remember, I was in my local pub. It was a local, but I'd only been living there a little while, and I said something. I shouldn't have done about the girl behind the bar. She'd been rude to me, and the next thing, I've got the man behind the bar saying, "That's my daughter." I was like, "Ooh!" It's like, because she'd been rude to me, and she was nice to Andre, and she was rude to me, and I'd been in a nightclub, and she was in there, and she started saying, "Oh, you're following me in the nightclub," and my other friend said, "Yeah, like he's got better things to do. Like hasn't got better things to do than follow you around." And I hadn't followed her. Well, okay, I didn't. This is a little area. Even though it's in London, it was a little area. There's very little going on in that part of London, like Forest Gate. And she was in there, but like, I didn't speak to her, and I didn't go in there, and I wasn't in there on my own. I was in there with Andre. So, yeah, anyway, so that was embarrassing. What other things? I can't think of anything else, so I'll move on to the next one. So there you go, Robin. None of these answers seem very good. I don't think I'm answering very well, but sorry about that. Mike asks me, if you were not a hypnotist podcaster or hypnotist / podcaster, what other job profession would you likely be doing? Or slightly differently, what would be your dream job? Bra fitter. No, I don't know. When I was a kid, I'm talking from the age when I was a kid, yeah, basically, I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. And I used to write my own songs, and I used to think that I had the ability to sing. And then as I got older, I wasn't so sure. And then mid-20s, I realised that I could sing. I did a bit of singing in the early 20s, karaoke, and I always had quite a good response. But that's as far as it went. But then when I was about 26 to 30, I started doing some recordings that I thought were pretty good. Started writing some songs, but nothing came of it, and no one else liked them. It was only me that liked them. But I think I'd have... I know it's not necessarily a job. I mean, I'm not saying it's not hard work, because it's incredibly hard work, I imagine, being a recording artist and stuff. But as far as that's something that I wanted to do. I also wanted to be a policeman when I was at school, but I wasn't tall enough. Now there's no height requirement, I don't think. But when I was a kid, you had to be at least, I think, 5'10", 5'11", something like that. And even though I was only probably 10, 11, 12 at the time, it was clear that I wasn't going to be tall. To everyone else, for some reason, like, you're not going to be tall, mate. How do you know? My oldest brother is about 6'6". I was like, this was then. This is when he was about 12. He was about 6'1". But it's like, no, you're not. You're not going to be tall. But you don't know. I might be. No, you won't. You're not. And I wasn't. I was the shortest out of everyone. The shortest. I was the littlest kid in school when I first went to high school. There was no one smaller than me. I was the smallest, tiniest child. And then as I got older, and, you know, I'd go into the next year and the year below, there'd still be kids much bigger than me. And then I'd go into the year higher, and the new year one, and I'll be in year 3, third year, and there'd still be kids bigger than me. And I got to the 5th year, and the first year, there'd still be kids bigger than me. It's like, this isn't fair. I was just so little, so just late developer. And I would have loved to have had, not this body, because no one would love to have this body, but to have maybe the strength or the physical, I don't know, the size maybe. This would have been quite cool to have this when I was at school, because not that it wouldn't have made a huge difference, to be honest, but I'd have preferred it. Although I think I might have got into a bit of trouble, to be honest. I might have, I don't know. That wasn't the question, was it? What were you for? I'd like, my dream job would be a radio presenter, I think. Not particularly doing music, but maybe, but like just and not even having callers. Just me talking, doing what I do here, really, but just doing that. Maybe daily for 3 hours. Talk, go through the newspapers, go through what's online, let people send in messages so that I can read them out. And, I think that would be something that I'd be quite good at, to be honest. But, I don't think that's, unless anyone that's listening likes what I do and thinks, hey, that's a good idea. I'm a radio producer. We'll get JC Juicy JJ to do a radio show. We'll start off on a weekend, just test it out, maybe on a Sunday, see if you enjoy doing it. Maybe just do a 2-hour slot on a Sunday. You travel up to London, stay in a top hotel, and then you just make your way to Leicester Square, which is just across the road. It's a little walk. And you can do your show, and then we'll show for you back home. And if you like it, then maybe we can extend it to maybe 2 days a week, Saturday and Sunday at the weekend, and then maybe a few days in the week. So to have a regular slot. Maybe I don't know, as an example, maybe 4 till 7 in the morning, Monday to Friday. And it could be like something you can do until you're in your 70s or something. You could do it for the next 20 odd years, and it'd just be the same as what you're doing now, but you'd be getting paid lots of money. Yes. So yeah, I think a radio presenter, so not a DJ as such, although it is, disc jockey is really music, isn't it? But a radio show, but like a professional, on a professional radio station. You know, not like just so I was actually getting, so it's a proper job, proper well-paid job where I was reaching a large audience. And the thing about it is, because I've already established an audience around the world, only 15 people, but that's beside the point. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. I've been saying that to girlfriends for years and none of them believe me, but I could start a radio job here and have people from other countries tuning in to listen, which would be, I don't know if it'd be useful or not. I don't know. So that's my answer, Mike. Because what I'm doing here isn't a job. I'm not going to say it's a calling. I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. I'm not sure anymore, but I'm just doing it. So it's hard to really explain what it is anymore, because I'm not sure. But hopefully it's useful. That's all I want it to be, is useful. And if it's not, then I need to do something different. So those questions, and now I come back to, I haven't got many. Okay. So this is the questions from today that I've had. So I've had 4, so that's good. Only 4. I say good because I probably don't have much time left to do loads. Before that, I'm going to have a little drink of water. So back to this. Diana asks me, do you smell really bad? No, I don't smell. Oh, do you sleep well? I do smell bad. Do I sleep well? Yeah, I don't have any problems sleeping. I sometimes have a little bit of an issue getting comfortable to start with. Not like for a long time, but just, for me, it's not about falling asleep. That's not really on my mind. I don't care about that. It happens anyway. For me, it's more about just getting physically comfortable in the bed. It takes a little bit. I'm on my right side, then I'm on my left side. I'm not like tossing and turning or anything like that, and it's not. But generally, it's about being comfortable, and it's also about Vinny. How is he? Is he, if he's lying on the pillow next to me, or if he's at the bottom of the bed, or, I have to kind of be a little bit aware of where he is so I don't lay on him. He does like to take up a lot of the room. And then I have to have music playing, not for me, but for him. Because any sounds outside, or anyone coming and going out of any of the flats, talking outside the building, a dog barking, anything like that, doesn't always, but can set him off. And he starts barking, and he can't seem to stop once he starts. So what I have is, I play music. Sometimes I have an audio book. Sometimes I listen to the radio. Last night I listened to, I've got Prime, what is it called, music, unlimited music or whatever. So you can choose what you have, because with the normal music you get with Prime, you can choose some stuff, but then it puts you onto other stuff that you might not want to listen to. So I pay for the monthly thing, and I listen to classical music, 9 hours of classical music. So I just listen to that all night. It's not on loud, but it's on enough to, and I've got my door closed as well. and I prefer to have the door open because I like to have the air flowing. But if the door's open, if he hears the neighbour opposite coming out of their door, and they're always quiet, but he hears them, and he starts barking and that. So I have the music on or an audio book, and that seems to be enough to distract him. And because I do go to bed quite early, generally, I'm in bed by 9 or 10 every night, sometimes earlier, depends how I feel, and I wake up early in the morning as well. And there's a couple of radio shows I like to listen to at the weekend, but generally I'll be more inclined to listen to music. Yeah, so classical music, something like that. And sleeping I find quite easy, to be honest. I just fall asleep, providing I've had food. If I go to sleep hungry, it doesn't work. I can't sleep if I'm hungry. I feel a bit ill. It makes me feel a bit dizzy. Feel like doesn't feel right. I don't eat directly before going to bed, but I need to have eaten at least a couple of hours before going to sleep, so that I'm not hungry. Otherwise, yeah, it just doesn't work. Can't do it. But yeah, I do sleep well. I do sleep. I have to wake up to go do wee-wees a couple of times through the night. That's just an age thing, I think. It's also because I do drink quite a lot of water throughout the day, and it's probably the only healthy thing that I've done in my life is drink plenty of water. And it's still my favourite drink, really. I drink tea as well. I don't drink any fizzy drinks anymore. I don't drink alcohol. I have milk on my breakfast cereal and in my tea, but I don't drink milk like I used to. I used to have a pint of milk with my dinner every evening when I was in my 90s. In my 90s? During the 90s. In my 20s. And yeah, so that's the answer to that. Yeah, I do. As long as I'm not hungry, I sleep fairly well. I don't sleep so well if I'm really tired. Like if I'm if I let it get too much, sometimes I just need to have a nap. And then I'm alright. So if I'm tired, really tired during the day, or I need a nap, I'll have a nap. And sometimes that can be caused through eye strain. If I'm spending a lot of time looking at the computer screen, it can be tiring. So I do sleep. Sleep is quite easy for me, which is good. Matthew asks, seems like you've lived all over the country. How did you end up where you are now? Well, the short answer to that is I went to university here in this town. I'm on the outskirts of the town now. I'm in the countryside part of the town. It's a city, actually. It's a city. It was a town, now it's a city. But I moved here to do my university degree in counselling studies back in 2007. I think it was end of October, beginning of November, I moved here. Moved to this city. And I lived in student accommodation for 3 years. It was private rented, but they only rented to students. There was 2 rooms for students in a family home. Very weird situation for me, I was in my late 30s at that point. And So yeah, it was a bit strange to be in a family home like that. They were used to much younger people being there, as was the university staff, I would say. But not that many of them used to come into my bedroom. So, yeah, I've lived around chronologically. Let's see. Born in North London. And forgetting all the times I've moved in the different areas I've lived. But I was born in North London, and then about 2 years old, I moved to, I think, a different part of London. My oldest brother told me that at some point we were living in Scotland, and then ended up in Newcastle upon Tyne, and then from there moved to Southend, and then Southend, from then, when I was 7, moved to Suffolk, which is a southeast. Lived there until I was 19, and I moved at the first opportunity I could to London, and then I moved back again for a little while, and then I moved back to London again in 1990 January, and I lived in different parts of London. So I lived in Stratford, East London, and then I lived in, I might be wrong, but I think it was Leytonstone, or Leighton. Then I lived in Forest Gate. Then I moved to Butlins and Bognor, whatever, which is the southwest of the country, I think. So that was quite a long way away from London. So I lived there for a while. Then I came back to London. Oh no, wait a minute. Came back to London, lived in Stratford, different address, and then I lived in Upton Park, which is up near, used to be West Ham football ground, and it's East Ham. West Ham football ground is now at Stratford, at I think it used to be called the Millennium. No, it's the, is it not the O2? It's anyway, it's in Stratford anyway. I think it's at one of the places where they built for the Olympics, I think, unless they are actually at the O2. I'm a little bit confused, just generally in life. And then from there, so I was in Upton Park, moved back to Stratford again, and then from there moved to Suffolk, but a different town. In between that I lived in Ireland for a little while, and then I lived in a different town in Suffolk, and then I moved to a city. I think the other place is a city now as well. I moved to a different place where a university is, and then ended up moving different places around there, and then ended up here 9 years ago, which is on the outskirts. I've missed out a lot of different moves, but there's kind of the areas that I've lived. There's places I don't know, to be honest, because I lived in Newcastle, I moved to Southend, I might have lived in Scotland. Again, I'm not 100% sure of that one. But I ended up here really just through circumstances. I don't know really. I had everything sorted. Everything was absolutely sorted for me when I was starting the university course. I had a part-time job that was just about to start in the supermarket. I had somewhere to live, which I was happy living there, kind of. But that was the reason everything went wrong, because of that place. And then, but it turns out that the place was going to get sold anyway. So that would have put a bit of a stinker on things, but that would have happened a bit sooner than it was going to happen. I didn't realise it was going to happen. I should have known when they got me to sign a contract, a form saying that I waived my rights to live in there. Maybe should have seen something into that. Anyway, I had a girlfriend. I had voluntary work I was doing still at the drug rehab and the alcohol charity, where I was doing relaxation sessions. And I was going to be doing my counselling training hours, where I'd see clients. I was going to be doing it with them as part of the course. So everything was like, and I just travelled to a different town for the course, for the university course. Everything was all set, quite organised for me really. It was quite good. And it all kind of went a little bit pooey, and I was looking for somewhere to live in the town I was currently living in. I couldn't find anywhere. First of all, within my price range, which was a very small amount considering I was going to be a student on a student loan and a student grant, without any part-time. Well, I'd have been alright with a part-time job, but even then it wasn't a lot. And in the end, my girlfriend, that I'd only been with for maybe a month or so, she said to me, well, why don't you call the university up and ask them if they can suggest any telephone numbers of landlords that are willing to rent to a student. So I took her advice, phoned the university up. They gave me a few numbers, called them up. One of them was where I ended up living, and she let me move in without even paying the full amount of rent, knowing that it was because she was used to students. And I thought, yeah, this is perfect. So I gave her some money and said I'd pay the rest when the student loan came through, because it was a little bit late getting through. But it was in a different town. It was a town where the university was, not the town where I was currently living. Which meant I could no longer do the voluntary work, because the travelling just wasn't really suitable really for the situation. I couldn't do the job either because I couldn't travel. I did try and get it changed to the different town, like see if I could transfer it to the supermarket in the new town, but they couldn't do that. And ironically, my girlfriend left me because I'd moved. I was like, yeah, but it was your idea. Well, I didn't think you'd move. I said, well, yeah, that was the idea of moving, but you moved to a different town. Yeah, but I didn't move to get away from you. I just moved because I needed somewhere to live. And yes, that was like the last I spoke to her. So yeah, it was weird. So everything went a bit weird, and I moved in there, lived there until the course finished, and it was 2010. I got I think it was November 2010, I got my graduation, November I think it was, and 2011, I think it was probably March time, I got evicted. They gave me notice to get out. So I found somewhere else that was really £125 a week for a room with it was en suite, on own bathroom and stuff, but £125. I think I was paying £70 or £65 a week for the room I had before. And it just, again, everything just went weird again for a while. And then I was there for a year, had to stay there for a year because I had a contract. Got out of there as soon as I could because loads of work dried up because of politics and stuff. The funding was taken out of the counselling services. And I found a room a lot cheaper, and I moved in there and stayed there until 2015, about March, April time, and when I moved in here. So yeah, that's kind of I've missed out all the different moves that I've had before that. So I've only lived in 4 different places in this town. In the other town I lived in 5 different places. And in London I lived in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 different places in London. And then before that I lived in, so there was, how many places, I'm trying to think how many times I moved when I was living in Suffolk before I left. So I moved there when I was 7, moved to once, then moved in the second place, it was a council house, then we moved into the third place, which was a house. So I lived in 3 different places in that Suffolk town between 7 and 15. Then I lived in 2 places until the age of 17. So I lived there when I was 17. Then I moved out above the co-op, so I lived there. Then I moved again, I got kicked out of there, evicted. Then I moved another place. Then I moved to another place. Then I moved to another place and places. Wow. So I probably, yeah, so I'm trying to think, there's at least 50, I've moved at least 50 times, probably, different addresses that I've had since the age of 7, and I don't know how many before that, to be honest. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves that I know of, but there was multiple moves that I kind of vaguely remember, moving around quite a bit. And there was times we even slept in a police station, so I remember that. That was kind of quite exciting, to be honest. I was very young. So how did I end up where I am now? So yeah, that's how I ended up here. And I've been here 9 years, so this is the longest time I've ever lived anywhere, like as far as like an address. The longest time I lived anywhere since I was 15 years old. So yeah, it's been kind of strange. It's weird. It's very weird. So that's Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. So I've answered Diana's question. I've answered Matthew's question. Jen is the next one. Have you considered talking out loud without recording to try to get Vinny used to it? Maybe reward him when he's quiet. I'm no expert, but it seems he always starts barking when you start recording, and he gets either rewarded with a bone or put into the bedroom. Yeah, I do talk out loud. The thing is, that's something I do actually do. Anyway, I talk to him quite a lot. And the weird thing about it, when I'm on the phone, because I have the phone on a loudspeaker, not loud, but so I don't have to put it to my ear, and he never barks when I'm on the phone, but as soon as I turn the phone off and I stand up, he starts barking, like he thinks we're going to go somewhere. Yeah, I can't figure him out. It's when he started barking just then, a couple of minutes ago, but he heard something in the garden and he's barking. It's what he does. Whether it's because he's excited or because he's agitated, I don't know. I really don't know what the cause is. But I talk to him a lot. And I do talk out loud to myself, funny enough. But I don't sit here and talk to myself without recording, because let's face it, I don't want to miss the gold. I don't want to miss the moment, just like, what if I'd start talking to myself and something amazing comes out and I haven't recorded it, man? What would I do? I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer to that is. Anyway, thanks for the question, Jen. I don't know. It's not so much he barks, because he hasn't barked really hardly at all the whole way through this recording, but he does have a tendency, as soon as I push the machine on to record, I think it must let some kind of high-pitched noise that only he can hear, or out of the two of us only he can hear, and he comes running in there like, what's going on? Maybe I should really discuss it with him. Christine says, are you any further forward in moving? Well, no is the answer to that, really. No. I really don't know what's going on there, to be honest with you. I went on to there's a website that the council has, and the only place that I would probably consider moving to would be nearer to where my dad is, because my dad's getting on a bit, and perhaps it would be good to spend a bit more time with him. But there was just no swapsies there. There's nothing that was available, and I just thought, oh, this isn't good. And the only other place that I'd like to live would be Torquay, but I don't know anybody in Torquay. And at least if there was a place near where my dad lives, I can check the place out because I know the town, and I can get a rough idea if it's a fairly decent place to live, if it's okay. So I don't know. I'm really not sure what's going to go on with that. Everything's gone a bit topsy-turvy the last few months, to be honest with you. So I don't know what's going to happen there. So cool. Tammy says, it's probably been asked before, but how did you get into what you're doing right now? you're right. I think I have gone through that, but I'll give you a little brief thing as well. This is literally I started in the early 90s. Well, I don't know, when I was even when I was like 14, 15, I went to on a religious education trip. RE they used to call it. Went on a trip to London and went around different religious sites. I think there was a Catholic church, synagogue, mosque, and a Buddhist centre. I was most interested in the Buddhist centre because I guess I equated it with martial arts, because I'd seen like Kung Fu, and he used to remember Kung Fu, the TV show, and he'd be meditating, and Bruce Lee used to meditate, and there was a lot of monasteries in the Kung Fu movies, and so I kind of had a feeling about that. I just like thought, yeah, this is for me. And you might be thinking, what the hell has this got to do with anything? Why is he talking about this? Well, I'll get to it. So I went to this Buddhist centre as part of the school trip, and they mentioned that they do karate. Now, I was doing karate at the time, not right then, but in the evenings, and it piqued my interest even more. And I was asking question after question about the karate, which they didn't want to talk about. They wanted to talk about the Buddhism, and we all did some meditation, and I loved it. It was the London Buddhist Centre, and it always sort of stuck with me, really. I did end up getting involved in that organisation, but not until 2002 November. So from 1985 or 84, so 18 years before I actually got involved. But in my early 90s, I became very interested in poetry, especially Beat Generation stuff. Kerouac, Ginsberg. I don't know. Trying to think of the different people. Off the Road. That was Kerouac, wasn't it? Off the Road, On the Road. Ginsberg. My favourite, although technically not a Beat Generation, but kind of, is Bukowski. But there's lots of different books, and there's various movies made about these people as well. And there was like this Buddhist, like a Buddhist vein, like going through the whole thing, including Bob Dylan as well. I really fell in love with Bob Dylan and like the lyrics and stuff. So I kind of, it is very much a Buddhisty vibe, like an Eastern vibe going on in the Beat Generation. It's very real, gritty, and I like that. I really did. And I was buying every single book I could get, reading every book I could get. And then about 92, 93, I started buying books on Buddhism. And tried to learn to meditate with audio tapes, and was very interested in Zen and reading koans, I think they're called koans or something, reading about Tibetan Buddhism, and I forget the name of it. It's not Buddhism, but it's kind of precursor to it. I got into that a bit as well. And I like the philosophy of it. It was almost like it was educating me in something that I already felt that I believed. It was almost like I was being reminded of something that felt correct. And I'm not talking from a religious perspective, just from a humanity perspective. Being kind, being just all that stuff, and just all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff. So I found it very fascinating, and I like to read the pithy stuff, and just, I don't know, I just found it just fascinating. And it was like my guide into how to try and make sense of life and the world, and because I was doing grotty jobs, low pay, and just trying to, I'd be doing this kind of quite a horrible job during the day, and during a break time I'd be sitting reading a book on Zen, and it just gave me an emotional boost. So that idea of kind of, that was, I guess, my first step into self-development. Guess kind of what I mean. I think it was trying to figure out what's going on with me, and can I am I able to help myself to move away from how I was feeling, the mood swings and whatever. So I continued down that road a bit up to about 95, and then I had a period when I really stepped away from it. So 96 to 97, there wasn't really much going on as far as Buddhism or reading anything inspirational or anything like that. And then 97, the summer, I have a bit of a difficult issues that happened, and the late 97, I started buying audio books, like Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, and 7 Habits or whatever, and I don't know, How to Make Friends and whatever, Influence People. So I had quite a few of those, and I'd be listening to them throughout the day in the late, like 97 and then into 98. In January 98, I'd really got into the habit of looking for these audio CDs. Well, they were tapes at the time, audio tapes. And I started looking at the books section, and I came across some hypnosis books, which were like part of that section, like inspirational, self-help, spiritual, blah blah, that kind of area. And this is in London, so it's in the really, really good bookshops, Blackwell's, and there was Foyle's, is it? Books Etc. I don't know if Books Etc. even exists anymore. And there's these 2 particular books, both Introduction to Hypnosis, and I visited the bookshop every week, because I'd be buying books and stuff every single week. And for about 3 weeks in a row, I'd look at these 2 books, and they weren't side by side. There was a few books in between them, but they were in the same little collection. One was green, one was blue. I think I got at least one of them here, not the exact copy, but a version of that book, Introduction to Hypnosis or something. And I think the 3rd or 4th time I looked at these books, I thought, yeah, I'll get them. I wasn't sure why, but I just had a feeling. I'd already sort of been skimming through them. I probably already read like probably 10% of the books already by then. So I bought them, took them home. Still didn't read them for a couple of weeks. And then I started reading them and really gauged my interest. And then a friend of mine, gave me a leaflet because I was still into the self-help stuff, and he was into the self-help stuff, and he got sent this leaflet and he gave it to me, and it was for NLP. I thought, what's that? And he said it's hypnosis as well, because there was hypnosis on there. So I thought, oh. So I just had a look at that, and I thought, oh, I know what this is. So I just did a little bit of research to see what it was. Very limited internet in those days. It was around, but it was very, wasn't a lot of information. And I saw that there was a course at City University, one evening a week. I think it was a Tuesday or Thursday evening, and it was 3 terms, 3 different terms. Introduction to NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So I signed up, discovered that hypnosis was part of what they were doing, started buying books on NLP, pretty much got most of the main books on the subject, and it kind of went from there, to be honest. And I discussed quite detail yesterday, I think, about the process of getting into the 2006, when it all kind of kicked off in a good way, where I sort of started to grow into the world of helping people, firstly with chronic pain relief face to face for free in the town I was living, and then doing group sessions at the alcohol and drug charities, 2 different charities, and then providing stuff online, videos and podcasts. And I continued the videos and podcasts, to this day, I guess, I suppose. It's been more podcasts the last 5 or 6 years. Since 2013, I think I got rid of my previous YouTube channel, and I started focusing on podcasts only, really. Although I do have a YouTube channel again, and there is stuff on there. So that's kind of how it started. And it started, pretty much, I would say it started when I was a little kid watching Kung Fu, David Carradine. And I remember once he was locked inside a box by some cowboys, and his punishment was to be locked in this sweat box for 24 hours. And when they opened it up the next day, thinking that he was going to be upset or whatever, he just smiled because he'd been meditating the whole time. And that's when I thought, because he was always calm. No matter what happened, no matter what people tried to do to him, he was always able to keep it together and be calm. And I like that. I like the idea of being able to do that, because I wasn't able to do that. I didn't know how to do that. And I admired that. Well, now I can pretty much do that. Not in all situations, but I've definitely improved over the years. And that's it. That's kind of how I got started. Yeah, it's like a right away back. Very much influenced by Bruce Lee, the martial arts, Buddhism, philosophy, and then self-help or self-development. Because a lot of that stuff comes from Eastern philosophy. A lot of the self-development stuff comes from not just Eastern, like even Russian, Chinese, European places, various Japan, all kinds of Africa. There's lots of different places where these philosophies come into and get kind of mixed together a bit and used in a way that may be useful to people. So that was it. That's kind of how I got here. Doesn't explain why I'm still here, does it really? Like, why are you still doing it? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I kind of am, but I'm not. Kind of, I don't know. So that's that question for Tammy. Thanks for the question. Robin asks, what's your favourite movie and why? Okay, this is easy. It doesn't have to be a long one, this. I've got two. Okay, my favourite all-time movie is It's a Wonderful World. I'm going to do a couple of movies that I'd also love. The Wizard of Oz and The Wanderers. I also love The Gremlins, but I don't. Or Gremlins. I haven't seen that for years. But as far as my favourite all-time movie, It's a Wonderful Life. That's it. Number one. I saw it for the first time that I remember. I might have seen it when I was a kid, but I saw it for the first time that I remember in 1987, and I remember where I was living above the co-op where I was working. It was in the summer, Christmas movie, but it was in the summer, and I know that for a fact because I moved in probably June time and was out of there by September. So definitely wasn't a Christmas they were showing it, even though it is a Christmas movie, really. It is. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. I mean, it's a really old movie. I suppose I don't need to explain what it is. Most people probably know what it is. Jimmy Stewart, Donna Reed, Drew Barrymore's grandfather was the old man in the wheelchair, and yeah, it was just a great. Was it the old man in the wheelchair, or was it his? Was it George Bailey's uncle? I lose track. But anyway, they were really great movie. In fact, when I started doing comedy in 1991, I considered calling myself George Bailey, to have a stage name, George Bailey. And sometimes I kind of wish I had, even though it would have made no difference, zero difference to the outcome, I don't think. But my favourite movie, why? It's because probably the only movie I can watch over and over again and still love it. I don't watch it regularly, but there's a certain feeling to it. It's a certain there's something about that movie that I've not got from any other movie ever. A real life-affirming movie. It's not the only life-affirming movie out there, but it's, for me, it's I guess the amount of times maybe when I was younger and I sort of wish I'd never been born, and I'm sure lots of people have said that over the years, whether they mean it or not. And this movie basically just covers that subject. okay, you've never been born, and this is what would have happened if you hadn't been born, and this is how many people's lives would have been affected negatively if you hadn't been born. And it's powerful stuff, really. And Jimmy Stewart was just a dream to watch. He's just something about him. I think if I could be anyone, I wouldn't want to be him now, but I'm saying if I could be something, not Jimmy Stewart, just the character, the person on the movie. Just this person just seems so almost like flawed, but something beautiful about him as well. Like everyone loved him. Well, most people loved him. And just, yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not explaining myself very well, but I love the movie. That's my favourite movie. So I've answered the question. It's a Wonderful Life by Capra. Was it Capra who wrote it? I even know the book. I had the book on how it was all written and produced and everything. Yeah, that's my favourite movie. Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. I suppose maybe that's, I don't know, why. It touched me. And that's all I can say. Had an effect. I guess in a way I wanted to be George. Wanted to be George Bailey. Wanted to be that kind person that devotes his life, because he does in the movie. Even though he's all set to go away to university because he wants to travel the world and he wants to do all these things, but he gives all that up to look after the building and loan company that his dad started, because otherwise it was going to be sold to the local rich man who was not very nice, and he'd end up being just a slum landlord. So he wanted to make sure that the local people could live, in his own words, they work hard, isn't it? Is it too much for them to ask to be able to go home to a nice house with a bathroom and a kitchen and bedrooms? And yeah, he does this little speech. There's one good bit I like about it, is when he says to, I'm trying to think who's, Old Man Gower is the pharmacist who accidentally puts poison in the capsules and gives it to young George when he's about 10 to go and deliver it to one of the patients. And George doesn't know what to do because he's seen that the pharmacist has put the poison in. But the reason he's put the poison in because he's upset about something, and he doesn't realise what he's doing. I think he's drinking as well. So he sees a poster saying, "Ask Dad, Dad knows best," or something. One of the posters in the pharmacy. So he goes to see his dad, and the old man in the wheelchair that's being horrible to his dad is having a go at his dad, saying, "You don't make any money, you're just a charity case, and you're just a small man." And George is in the office listening to this, and he starts having a go at the old man, saying, "You can't say that to my dad, he's the biggest man in town. You can't talk to my dad like that." Yeah. So that kind of starts that. And then there's one point where George Bailey's a grown man, his dad's passed away, and he offers him a job, like big money, to work for him and to just give up the company. And he's like, oh, I might do that. And he shakes hand with the old man and Potter. Is it Dennis Potter? Potter, Old Man Potter or something they called him. And no, it's Old Man Gower. It was Potter. Anyway, that was his name in the movie, the old bloke. And I think that was Drew Barrymore's granddad, I think. Because John Barrymore was her dad, I think. Because the whole family were quite famous actors, weren't they? I don't know if any of her kids, or she's got kids, if they're actors as well. But he's shaking hands with Potter. And he like, wait a minute, and he realises that he kind of almost that spell of getting paid huge amounts of money is suddenly broken when he touches the skin of Potter, and he remembers that he's just a bit of a snake, I guess, like, ugh, and then he walks away. I'd never work for you. He didn't go because that probably wouldn't have been very professional. Although Jimmy Stewart was apparently one of the first actors to speak more naturally, to stutter, or to like, instead of being word perfect like a lot of the movies until he came around, he started like, that's this, and it'd be more real. That was me acting, by the way. And he had a different style, and he changed the way actors did things. I mean, some actors just still stuck to the script, but he was able to almost incorporate a script but become the part, make it more realistic. Because let's face it, in real life people stutter, sometimes we say the wrong word, don't we, in conversations? It's not word perfect, is it, generally? Not with me, it's not, anyway. Not with me. So that's it, Robin. I think I've answered all the questions. I've only gone and answered all the questions. Can you believe it? That is amazing. A few more comments. Christine. No, I've done Christine. Jen. Thanks, Jen. Matthew, thank you. Diana, thank you. Tammy, thank you. Robin, thank you. And that's all of the comments on that one. No, that's top comments. All of the comments. Few previous comments. Christine, Jen, Robin, Tammy, Matthew, Diana, and then if we go down, and that's both that was it. I do believe that view all comments on the other one. Ben, Jove, Barry, Rick, Robin, Mike. Yeah, that's everyone. I have answered everyone's questions. Thank you. The ones on here that I didn't answer today, I answered yesterday. I think I answered about 2 questions yesterday. And this time I've answered all the rest. So thank you. Thank you for asking the questions. And I do hope I've answered them proficiently. That's a word. Proficiently. Proficiently. And that's the end of the recording. So thank you for listening. Blimey. I feel like I've rushed it, but does it feel rushed? I don't know. I probably could have lasted an hour for each answer or each question, but some of it was kind of going over old ground in a way, and some of the questions I'd already answered, even though I wasn't answering the question that they'd asked anyway previously. So it's kind of, I think I covered most of the stuff, I think. Yeah, I think. You can always ask me more questions and I can incorporate it into the next recording. It won't be a Q&A, it'll just be, or you can just post a comment that you want me to include. You can post a message, whatever, really. And I'm happy to include it in the recording, or shout out happy birthday. I've done a few of those over the years. I haven't done any recently. So yeah, whatever. I'm here to serve everyone. Rice Krispies. So Vinny's fast asleep now, so he seems quite happy. Oh, I didn't tell you this, the light outside is working again. I don't know how or why, but it looks like someone's come along from the council and fixed it. So the hallway light at the top of the stairs is now on in the evenings. Hasn't been on for about 3 weeks. And now it's on. It's like, wow. Just thought I'd let you know. It's a bit of good news. It's good news